Now, if you haven't noticed by now, I obviously pick kind of offbeat albums to review. Albums that I personally like, but for some reason or another, were kind of either considered a swing and a miss, or maybe just not the first album that you think of when you hear a particular band. And The Getaway is definitely one of those albums by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Again, this was made in 2016. The best way to understand this particular album is, of course, to understand what came before it, and in this case, to understand the events that came after it. Now, I would say that The Getaway is a direct result of the previous album that the Red Hot Chili Peppers made entitled I'm With You. And of course, to understand I'm With You, you need to understand the events that led up to I'm With You. So let's rewind back to the year 2006, which is damn a long time ago. But the Red Hot Chili Peppers were bam right up here in terms of popularity, in terms of presence. Everybody loved the Red Hot Chili Peppers again. And despite their weird and complicated road, at the time, they were going into their third album with John Frusciante since he came back. It's a very complicated story where... Okay, folks. So, the Chili Peppers have always had a guitarist problem. There's no other way to say it. From the beginning of the band, the two prominent members, and really the two members that have been there the entire time, have been bassist Flea and vocalist Anthony Kiedis. The rest has been a revolving door until 1989, the release then being Mother's Milk, which actually was the first time the Red Hot Chili Peppers became huge with their cover of Stevie Wonder's song Higher Ground, and some moderate radio hits other than that. But then, of course, comes the Holy Grail in 1991, Blood Sugar Sex Magic, which everybody swears by, and I agree, objectively speaking, is probably their best album. Not my favorite, but their best. Shortly after 1991, guitarist John Frusciante quit the band and disappeared for about 8 years. And between him disappearing and him coming back, there was one album in 1995 called One Hot Minute, which was commercially successful but critically mixed. But 1999 was John Frusciante's return into the band, hence Californication. Red Hot Chili Peppers back on top in terms of popularity. They followed that up with By the Way, which I think was maybe even a bigger album, which I think is probably the more favorite album. I know that's maybe controversial, but most people I talk to really love By the Way, including myself. And then came their third album in 2006, Stadium Arcadium. It was a double album, a huge undertaking, a huge tour, everything. Bam, they were just on top of the world. Now, they took a break between, I think 2008, they took a break. 2007 or 2008, the band said, we're going to take a year off. Go ahead and do your own thing. Chad Smith, I believe, did a side project with Sammy Hagar called Chicken Foot. And I believe Flea went to school. You're going to have to let me know. But anyways, when it came for the band to reform, there was one person that decided not to come back, and that was John Frusciante. Enter Josh Klinghoffer. Now, Josh Klinghoffer was sort of the backup guitarist for Red Hot Chili Peppers. He did a lot of work with John Frusciante on John Frusciante's solo albums, and he toured with the Peppers, and he was now touring with the Peppers while John Frusciante is gone. Okay, so now we've caught up to the album I'm With You, which comes out in 2011. This is the first album without John Frusciante in 12 years. 12 years. So the band does the album I'm With You, and it's suddenly this whole experiment to see if the Red Hot Chili Peppers can exist without John Frusciante. And guess what? Mixed reviews, mixed feelings. I, for one, am not a fan of the album I'm With You. I feel like it is a bit vacant, not just because of the guitar work, I felt like Josh Klinghoffer was a bit shy on this album, and rightfully so. He had big shoes to fill, but I also feel like the rest of the band was not really on the top of their game. Anthony Kiedis, especially, I felt like a lot of the songs were just rough. But anyways, that's a review for another time. So I'm With You comes out in 2011. Obviously, it made some money because the Chili Peppers are kind of too big to fail at this point. But there is a big question mark, because from what I had heard, they weren't selling out shows anymore. From what I had heard, a lot of people were kind of just thinking maybe this is the end of the Chili Peppers. Maybe it doesn't work with unless John Frusciante is in the band. So you fast forward another 5 years, half a decade goes by, and the band puts out this new album, The Getaway. And myself included, I was really curious to see how this was going to work out. I was actually a big Josh Klinghoffer enthusiast. I felt like, hey, this guy, he's a team player. He's thrilled to be here. I want this band to work with this guitarist because he just seems like he's trying to do it. He's trying to make it happen. The first single for The Getaway comes out entitled Dark Necessities. And you know what? It's maybe the best damn song I've heard by the Red Hot Chili Peppers as a single. Best song I've heard by them, I don't know, in 14 years. Since the By the Way era. I'm not a huge fan of Stadium Arcadium, but that is, again, a topic for another time. So the album comes out, and from what I can tell, it's a similar response to The Getaway as with I'm With You. There is some commercial success. Obviously, the band is able to make some money and tour off of it. I think the reception is a little bit better and a little bit warmer, but there's still just a lot of people that feel like, man, this doesn't work without John Frusciante. I agree with that. But with that said, The Getaway is actually maybe in my top 3 favorite albums by the band. Let's get into it. All right, so the album starts with the title track, The Getaway, the song. And I would say this is recognizably, right off the bat, a Chili Peppers sound. This feels familiar. It feels much more familiar than anything off of I'm With You. And that's important because I'm With You felt like a very big departure from the brand of Red Hot Chili Peppers. And I can tell from track 1 that maybe this is a return to that brand by this band. It has a little bit of edge to it. It's a little bit more like adult Chili Peppers as opposed to some of the more silly, childish stuff that they've been known to do. I'm talking specifically, of course, about Anthony Kiedis, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it's just kind of odd when it comes to quality control, when it comes to his lyrics. Let's just say it. Let's just put it out there. But The Getaway, a good start. The only thing I would say is the song is a lot of anticipation. Doesn't really lead up to anything. Verse, chorus, yada, yada. The guitar does feel a bit vacant on the choruses. And that's the only kind of red flag and the only kind of weird feeling I get is like, okay, I really hope that Josh Klinghoffer is not going to shy away from having, full frontal guitar nudity like he did previously. We get to track 2, Dark Necessities. And again, I will say, I think this is their strongest single since anything off of By the Way, which is saying a lot. I mean, it's been 10 years. It's been 14 years since By the Way. And I feel like this single is maybe the most compelling thing I've heard by the band since the early aughts. And I know that's an asshole thing to say, maybe to some people, but it's just how I feel. This is just my opinion. Tell me if I'm wrong. I really do love the piano accompaniment from Josh Klinghoffer. I think this is something very specific to Josh's skills and his contribution to the band. John Frusciante, of course, is an amazing guitarist, but something going for Josh that wasn't going for John, is we get some piano accompaniment, and I think that's great. The only thing I will say about the song is when we reach the bridge, things get a little bit loosey-goosey. They kind of fall apart a little bit. With a song with such strong rhythm and melody, you just fall into this part 3/4 of the way through that I don't know. It feels a bit vacant. It feels a bit like the band was trying to solve something to break up the repetitiveness of two very strong parts, and adding in this third section of the song that's maybe not as strong. And the last thing I will say is just knowing the history of this album. Obviously, in the past, the band has worked with Rick Rubin famously. And I was reading up about this album being the first album where Rick Rubin did not come in to produce the band. From what I've read, how usually it works is the band will be working on something and then he'll just show up one day and start working with them. And it didn't happen this time. They recruited Danger Mouse, who I think is an equally talented producer. And obviously Danger Mouse has done some great work. I mean, we're talking about Gnarls Barkley and Broken Bells. I'm a huge fan of both projects. So that was good. Him working with the Chili Peppers, I feel in this particular instance, worked very well. Okay, we get into track 3, We Turn Red, and I think upon the first listen of this album, this was the first track where I'm thinking to myself, okay, this is either going to make or break the album. This song really needs to drive it home, or else I'm going to be really fucking worried that this is going to be I'm With You version 2. But I was pleasantly surprised. We Turn Red has a very vintage Chili Peppers sound, specifically in the verses. It has kind of that edge that they used to have, specifically Blood Sugar Sex Magic. It felt very much like something off that album. And I feel intentionally that was that way. And then the choruses felt like something off of By the Way, something very artsy, something a bit newer, a bit more of that newer sound that Chili Peppers has had for a while now. Great song, great kind of button right in the beginning of the album to remind folks, hey, this is Chili Peppers. You don't have to worry about us sounding different or off-brand. We are here and we're back. We get into track 4, The Longest Wave, and for me, it's a bit of a snooze fest, and not to sound like a jerk. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of people that love this song. For me, it's interesting. Not my favorite. I don't hate it. It's great. If it's playing, on my stereo, I'll listen through it. But there's not much to say about it. It's the first indication, I think, in the album where I'm thinking, okay, altogether, if we're summing up these 4 songs, this is obviously not really hard-hitting Chili Peppers. It's not energetic, bitey kind of stuff that you would hear earlier in their career. These songs are not big. They're small. They're a bit more intimate, and that's totally fine. I think that works as well. Getting to track 5, Goodbye Angels. I'm just gonna say right off the bat, man, you got to stop saying heyo. Stop saying heyo so much. This song, you say heyo probably 30 times. And whatever, maybe there's people that are into that, but come on. There's already heyo snow. There's already hey now. The line hey now that you say a bunch in Rain Dance Maggie. I'm just tired of it. I'm just tired of the heyos. Just stop. It's enough. With that said, though, I don't hate any of these songs off this album. This is one of my more favorite Red Hot Chili Peppers albums. If there's any criticism to pick out, saying that heyo is something that is annoying to me is a very small thing to criticize. All right, we get into track 6, Sick Love. This is a very interesting song. I obviously became an Elton John fan much later on. Much later than hearing this album, actually. And I They released a music video for this eventually that had Elton John's face stapled all over it, and they made sure that they gave homage to Elton John. The way that this song was marketed, it felt like it was a love letter to Elton John's song Benny and the Jets. I'm curious to know if that's intentional or not, only because there was the infamous Danny California debacle where Danny California came out. It sounded like Last Dance with Mary Jane by Tom Petty. Tom Petty tried to sue the Red Hot Chili Peppers. I don't know the details, but obviously it was settled and nothing really came of it. But with that said, I would not be surprised if the Chili Peppers did their homework this time around and kind of ran this through legal. And legal said, hey, this sounds like Benny and the Jets. You guys should do something with this. And then they sort of tackled this problem before it became a problem. With that said, Sick Love is a very great song. It's a very fun Chili Peppers song. A little bit more levity than anything that we've heard yet off of this album. And that's great. That will be a running theme as we get deeper into the album. Check out the music video. It's fully animated. Well, I wouldn't say fully animated, but it's an animated music video, and it's great. All right, we get into track 7, Go Robot. Now, this is probably the most important song off the album. And why do I say that? Because it is the fucking wackiest song that the band has ever made, ever. It's about robots and like robot sex and all kinds of stuff. It's just for a band to be that ambitious to do a song like this, which really has the power to make or break kind of someone's interest in this album, especially veteran Red Hot Chili Peppers fans. This song has the power to have someone just turn off the album and say, F this, I'm not going to do it anymore. The music video is great too. If I remember correctly, it's like Anthony Kiedis that's pretty much like covered in silver body paint, and I think he's like almost naked, and he's a robot, and he's just having fun. So Go Robot, yeah. Hey, 2 thumbs up. Great for you guys to do that, to be that uninhibited. Track 8, Feasting on the Flowers. And this is what I'll say. By now, with this song, I'm sold on this album. I feel like this album has a lot that we haven't seen from the Chili Peppers before. And personally, I'm the kind of person that wants to hear a band do something new. I'm not one of those folks that feels like people need to recreate their brand. You know, I don't want a band to come back and just try to duplicate shit that they've done before just so their fans can be, you know, placated. But Feasting on the Flowers, it's just cool, man. It's just a cool song. This album had kind of a slow start, I think, but by this track, I'm convinced that the Josh Peppers could work. To be honest, by this song, I feel like this band can go on and they can do some more great work. This should have been a single. I feel like this was the only song off the album that wasn't put out as a single that I feel like it should have been. And I mean, the odd thing is, you know, they put out Goodbye Angels as a single in a music video. I don't really think it deserved it. I think it should have been Feasting on the Flowers. All right, so we get to track 9, entitled Detroit. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I mean, this is just the back half of any album. You're gonna run into songs that are just maybe a little less interesting, maybe because you're not going in with a blank canvas anymore. By now, I mean, the band has pulled 8 rabbits out of their hat, right? So, you know, there's only so much you can put on an album to keep it interesting. Detroit is a great kind of raw sounding song. It sounds like it's just 4 dudes playing in a room. More power to them, you know. It's a more energetic song, which I think the album has needed. It's a more energetic song, which I think the album as a whole needs. Obviously, there's a lot of There's a lot of ballads and then maybe just kind of mid-level energy songs on this album, which I'm fine with, but I could see where people could get bored if a song like Detroit wasn't put in here. We get to track 10. This Ticonderoga is what it's called. It actually sounds a little bit like something you'd hear off of Mother's Milk. It sounds like they just kind of went back to the late 80s and popped something out of the vault there and threw it in here. Yeah, and then about halfway through the song, the whole thing kind of goes bonkers, but that's fine. I mean, it's the band having fun. I'm enjoying the ride. They obviously don't want this song to really be a single or anything. You know, this is a song that the band's making for themselves. So good for them. Now, people think I'm crazy when I say this album is one of my favorites by the Chili Peppers, because obviously there is a widespread consensus that the only Chili Peppers albums that are worth a damn are the Chili Peppers albums that were made with John Frusciante. Now, objectively, there is some truth to that, but subjectively, no. The reason I like this album so much is because it has this precious nugget of gold just right towards the end, and that's track 11 entitled Encore. I cannot express in words how much this song means to me and how much this just grips me and makes me think about my life. Whenever a song can put you in a mode where you're feeling some self-reflection and you can apply the lyrics to your own life situation and really just the tone of the song, that says a lot. And especially with the Chili Peppers, and this is not a criticism, but this is maybe just a personal reason why they're not the favorite band of mine, is it's not often that they get serious. It's not often that they get very deep. And that's not to say lyrically that's not true. But when you have a combination of very deep, serious, meaningful, vulnerable lyrics and very deep, serious, vulnerable sounding music, marrying the two, that's something that I think is worth a lot when it comes to the Chili Peppers. Encore, I remember driving down to Mexico and maybe even back from Mexico with the guitarist in our band, Ruben, and we were talking about this song. And, you know, he used to talk about how he took trips down to Calexico, which is a line in this song. And yeah, we just both felt like this was just an amazing song. So good for it. Yeah, I'd say if there is one song to take away from this album, if you had to pick one song to listen to from this entire album, it's Encore. And again, it's a shame that it was not put out as a single. We get to track 12, entitled The Hunter. I'm not gonna lie, this is a bit of an empty, vacant tune. Honestly, folks, I'm not saying that in terms of, oh, because it's slow and quiet, that it doesn't have much to it. I'm saying it in a sense that it just doesn't have much to it. There's not much to say. This is actually maybe the only song I tend to skip over when I'm listening to this album, because about 30 or 40 seconds in, I think to myself, yeah, I know where this is going. There's not much to this, and the replay value is just not there. I will say though, the worth in this song is the subject material. Every once in a while throughout these albums with Anthony Kiedis, we revisit his very complicated relationship with his father. And this is one of those songs where, unless I'm completely wrong, but I think it's really kind of hitting the nail on the head in the lyrics that he's talking about his dad and he's talking about fatherhood. And, you know, having seen some documentaries about the Red Hot Chili Peppers and reading the book Scar Tissue, I get the context for this song, and it's cool. It's cool to revisit that. So we get to the last track, Dreams of a Samurai. I will say right off the bat, great closing song. It has some teeth to it. It's darker It's grittier. It talks about drug addiction. It talks about death. It has a foreboding kind of tone to it. You know, you feel a bit on edge listening to this. First thing I'll say, great closing track. And it gives me hope that the Chili Peppers with Josh can work out, that it'll work out. And I look forward to hearing kind of what happens next with this particular lineup. I do have a theory, and I won't go into this too far because I might sound crazy. So Scott Weiland, the singer of Stone Temple Pilots and Velvet Revolver, he died from an overdose in late 2015. I believe it was December 3rd. Let me know if I'm wrong. This album came out in, I believe, early 2016, maybe mid 2016. I have a theory, but I could be completely wrong. I feel like at least part of this song is about Scott Weiland. And the only reason I say that is because there's a specific line in the song that says, "The day they found you on a tour bus, the news was barren as a desert bone. The tabloids made a kind of small fuss, a couple pictures shown." And that is literally what happened with Scott Weiland. He was found dead on a tour bus, having OD'd. And by that point in his career, the world had forgot about him. A lot of this song talks about kind of losing one's mind. There is another set of lyrics in here. "I'm a lonely lad. I've lost myself out on the range. I don't remember much, so don't ask me. I've gone insane." I mean, unofficially, again, this is sort of, I feel, very applicable to Scott Weiland. Obviously, Velvet Revolver had fired him. Stone Temple Pilots had fired him in 2013. And really, those last 2 years of his life were just very odd. He had his own solo band. He was doing a lot of touring. He was doing a lot of drug use. And just kind of went off the deep end. A lot of people saw the signs. You know, his mental state was in a state of degradation, right? And December 3rd, 2015 comes around. He's found on a tour bus. Anyways, let me know if that makes any sense. I just wanted to throw that out there because it felt very, you know, the lyrics of the song felt very much in the context of that event happening. And I know that Red Hot Chili Peppers and Stone Temple Pilots actually toured with each other back in 1999. So it's not like Anthony Kiedis and Scott Weiland were complete strangers. So in summation, I felt like The Getaway was a bit of a comeback for the Red Hot Chili Peppers after about 10 years of dealing with John Frusciante's departure. Now, unfortunately, public opinion really doesn't swing that way. But like I said, I think the reception for this album was a bit warmer than it was with I'm With You. I'm With You felt like they had lost their self-awareness maybe a little bit and maybe lost their brand, their sound. The Getaway felt familiar. It felt like, hey, I'm listening to new material by the Chili Peppers. Mixed reviews, obviously. I think the harshest one is by Pitchfork. They gave it a 5.4 out of 10. But, you know, across the board, All Music gives it a 4 out of 5. Clash gives it an 8 out of 10. Classic Rock gives it a 4 out of 5. I haven't heard of most of these places. Rolling Stone gave it a 3.5 out of 5. So it's not without its merit. But the tragedy of it is much like One Hot Minute and much like the material that the Chili Peppers had before John Frusciante came into the band, their first album, the self-title, their second album, Freaky Styley, third album, Uplift Mofo Party Plan, those tracks seem to get swept under the rug, along with One Hot Minute. And the reason I say this is because in 2019, it was announced that Josh was out of the band and John Frusciante was back in the band. I feel bad for Josh, but after hearing interviews, he seems like he's fine with it. He totally understands why they kicked him out and brought John back in. But what that means for I'm With You songs and for the Getaway songs is if you didn't catch them on the tour for the Getaway, chances are likely you won't be hearing them again. We are now back to the Red Hot Chili Peppers playing material that John Frusciante was a part of. I did hear an interview with John Frusciante addressing One Hot Minute, specifically if he was down to play those songs or not. And he had mentioned that the band never really pushed him into doing it. They never pressured him into playing those songs. I don't know if it'll be different for example, the song Dark Necessities or Rain Dance Maggie. We will see. Once COVID's over and Red Hot Chili Peppers are back on the road, obviously they're putting together a new album with John Frusciante right now. But we'll see what happens with the legacy that is these two albums that Josh Klinghoffer was a part of. That's it for my review of Red Hot Chili Peppers' The Getaway. Again, top 3 favorite albums by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. I think it was great. I think it was a success. You should definitely check it out. Let me know if you hate it. There's a lot of people out there that hate it. Let me know in the comments. Let's have a conversation about it. And until next time, take care of yourselves. I'm looking forward to doing another album review very soon.